2 a.m., my CEO wife came home. The first thing she did was offer me $20 million to sign the divorce papers. I signed the agreement without a word and walked out. But a year later, at a party, a few heirs to wealthy families brought up my ex-wife, Chloe Vanderbilt, calling her one of the most devoted women in their circle. I scoffed at that. All her devotion was reserved for her first love, Ryan Sterling. They disagreed. You just got back to the States, haven't you? You don't know the whole story. I was confused. After all, no one knew better than me how much she favored Ryan. But what the heirs said next stunned me. The man she truly loves is her husband, Ethan Miller. Hearing this as her ex-husband, I found it utterly absurd. In the 3rd year of our marriage, my mother had her arms and legs broken before being thrown into the ocean to die, all because she accidentally brushed against one of Ryan Sterling's bespoke suits. The day I took the arrogant, domineering Ryan to court, he was acquitted. The lawyer who defended him, the one who had never lost a case, was Chloe. After the trial, she pushed a document across the table to me. "Ethan, sign it," she said, her voice deceptively gentle. "You don't want to be sued for slander and end up in prison, do you?" Beneath her gold-rimmed glasses, her gaze was as sharp and cold as ice. I stared at her, my voice trembling. Why, Chloe? I couldn't understand it. I was her husband. She once loved me so much that she gave up her inheritance and endured house arrest by the Vanderbilt family just to marry me. But after what happened to my mother, I had pleaded with her countless times. Just this morning, for the 99th time, I knelt at her feet, threatening divorce, begging her to drop the case. And what was her response? "Ethan, stop making a scene," Chloe said, twisting the ring on her finger in annoyance. "Ryan is different. He pursued me for 10 years and he saved my life. I have to protect him, even if it means going against the husband I love." She then held up a tablet, showing me a live stream. "You have 2 minutes to think it over. Ethan, even if you won't do it for yourself, think about your mother. Sign this, and I'll give her ashes back to you." The screen showed a boat on the ocean, where several bodyguards held a wooden urn over the side. One slip and it would be gone. Panic seized me. "What do you want me to do?" She didn't even flinch. "Don't waste time. Can you really stand the thought of your mother's ashes being lost at sea forever?" I stared at her. "Chloe, how could you?" But she cut me off, her voice chillingly calm. "Ethan, you have 30 seconds left." A sharp pain lanced through my heart. How ironic. This was the same woman who once loved me more than life itself. 8 years ago, she fell for me at first sight at the Vanderbilt estate. I was old Mr. Vanderbilt's personal attendant, our social statuses worlds apart, yet she confessed her feelings for me 100 times. If I so much as glanced at a particular flower, she would have the entire garden replanted overnight. When I sprained my ankle, she booked an entire floor of the hospital just for me. That was also when I learned about her other suitor, a wealthy heir she'd known since childhood who had been chasing her for years, completely infatuated. But she only had eyes for me. "Ethan, I only love you," she'd said. "So what if Ryan and I are from the same world? I can't stand him." To force her to leave me, the Vanderbilts not only revoked her shares but also used their influence to exile her to a private island. For 20 days, Chloe went on a hunger strike until they finally relented, and in doing so, she completely won my heart. We were married soon after, and she loved me as fiercely as she had promised. Everything changed 6 months ago, when Ryan Sterling, who had been away for years, suddenly returned. This time, her attitude toward her childhood friend was completely different. She canceled an international conference to pick him up from the airport herself and didn't come home for 3 days while she organized a lavish welcome home party for him. Seeing my confusion, she finally told me the truth. "A year ago in London, I was in a car accident. Ryan was in a coma for a year because he saved me. Ethan, I only love you, but he just woke up. I have to repay this debt. Just give me 1 year, please." At first, I believed her, but on the night of his party, a chronic condition of mine flared up, and I was rushed to the emergency room. Couldn't reach Chloe. Desperate, my mother went to the yacht where the party was being held to find her, but she never came back. Everyone insisted it was an accident, that my mother had slipped and fallen. Chloe believed them, but after I was wheeled out of the ER that night, I got a call. I could hear the chaos on the other end, Ryan's angry shouts, and my mother's agonized screams. She didn't fall. He was the one who killed her. For 6 months, I was consumed by grief, guilt, and despair, until I finally got a lead from one of the waiters. I begged Chloe for help countless times, but when we got to court, she stood against me without a moment's hesitation. She protected my mother's murderer, and she even threatened me with my mother's ashes to force me to apologize to him. At that moment, looking at Chloe, she seemed like a stranger, someone summoned from the depths of hell. I gave up. My hope was gone. With a trembling hand, I scrawled my signature on the retraction. "Are you satisfied?" I rasped. "Now tell them to come back." But just as I spoke, a cry came from behind us. "Chloe, help me. My head is killing me." Panicked, Chloe dropped the tablet and rushed to Ryan's side. On the live stream, the countdown had finished. Without an order from Chloe to stop, the bodyguards opened the urn. "No!" I screamed, lunging for the tablet. "I signed it. Chloe, tell them to stop." I tried to grab her, but her only concern was Ryan. As she helped him away, she shoved me hard. I stumbled, my head cracking against the corner of a table. My tears fell onto the tablet screen. It was too late. I watched as her ashes were scattered into the wind, disappearing over the cold, gray waves. An unbearable guilt tore through me. My mother had always hated the cold, hated the ocean. Now she was trapped there forever. "I'm so sorry," I choked out, a wave of regret washing over me for ever loving her, forever marrying her. Memories flooded my mind like a nightmare as my vision swam and the world went dark. The last thing I heard was Chloe's frantic voice from outside the courtroom. "Hold on, Ethan, just stay with me. I'll do anything, I promise." I woke up in a hospital bed. A young paralegal was standing beside me, looking sympathetic. "Mr. Miller, the case is closed. You need to try and move on. Your health is what's important now." The dull ache in my chest returned as I snapped back to reality. Ignoring the 4 in my hand, I sat up and frantically searched my backpack. "Can you tell me if this is legally binding?" I asked, my voice shaking as I handed him the papers. "A divorce agreement?" He looked it over. "Yes, Mr. Miller. Your wife has already signed this. You just need to add your signature and file it. The divorce will be final in a month." That morning, I had knelt before Chloe with these very papers. Maybe she was in a rush, or maybe she just didn't believe I would actually go through with it. She must have assumed they were fake, because she signed them without a second glance. She never would have guessed I was serious. I couldn't wait another second. I pulled the 4 from my arm and rushed to City Hall to file the papers. Afterwards, I went to the shore. As a cold drizzle began to fall, I knelt in the sand. "Mom, from now on, I'll always live by the ocean, so I can be with you." The only answer was the biting wind. I don't know how long I knelt there before I closed my eyes and made a call. "Hello, I need to arrange a staged death and extraction," I said, my voice broken but firm. "In 1 month, I will fall into the ocean at a location I'll provide. Your team needs to prepare a new identity for me, rescue me, and get me out of the country. I'm not just getting a divorce. In 1 month, I'm going to get my justice, and I'm going to give Chloe a surprise she'll never forget." By the time I got home, it was late. The lights were on in the living room, where Chloe was feeding a bowl of chicken soup to Ryan. "Chloe," Ryan said, "I posted that retraction online. Ethan's getting destroyed on Twitter for slandering me. That should teach him a lesson. You're not to interfere with him again." Chloe hesitated for a second before agreeing. "Fine. He made a mistake. He deserves to be punished." I thought about the storm of abuse online. The story had gone viral, with over 1 billion impressions on the topic. People were saying my mother got what she deserved, that a worthless attendant like me wasn't fit to clean the dirt from under a rich man's fingernails. A sharp pain shot through my chest. I walked into the living room, my face a mask. Seeing how pale I was, Chloe paused. "Where have you been? What happened to your forehead?" I ignored her. Ryan, however, smoothly changed the subject. "Oh, you're back, Ethan. Perfect timing, I brought you some gifts. Come take a look." Chloe cleared her throat, a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. "Ryan was in a coma for a long time, and he's still recovering, so he'll be staying with us for a while. I need you to be attentive. He's lactose intolerant, can't have cold food, needs to sleep until 10, and his fruit has to be juiced." Each word was a knife in my heart. I let out a cold, disbelieving laugh. "What? You want me to be his caregiver?" "Don't be difficult, Ethan," Chloe said. "What happened is in the past, so let's just move on. You were an attendant for the Vanderbilts for years. I know I can trust you with this." She trailed off, leaving the rest unsaid. On the dining table was a list of instructions for Ryan's care, 267 items long. And on the floor, tossed carelessly, were his gifts for me. A Bulgari watch with a scratch strap, a promotional Hermes keychain, a pair of scuffed Dior shoes. They weren't gifts, they were his cast-offs. I remembered years ago, when one of Chloe's friends called me a manservant. She was so furious she had the woman's $100 million project killed that same night. "Ethan is my husband," she had declared. "Anyone who disrespects him, disrespects me." Now, she was the one disrespecting me, forcing me to be a personal attendant to my own enemy. So much for deep love and sacred vows. They were all so fragile. I would never believe in them again. For these last 30 days, I had to endure it all. But that very night, Ryan claimed to have a nightmare. He ran into our bedroom barefoot. "Chloe, I can't sleep alone," he whined, leaning against her. "The mattress in the guest room is too hard. I need you to stay with me." Chloe, fresh from her shower, frowned slightly. I knew she felt sorry for him, but since I was there, she first hugged Ryan and patted his back comfortingly. Then her eyes met mine. "Ethan, Ryan's never had to rough it. Could you please sleep in one of the other rooms for now?" I saw the triumphant smirk on Ryan's face. I gave a sarcastic smile, grabbed my pillow, and got out of bed. "Since Mr. Sterling is so fond of it, the bed is all yours." It wasn't just the bedroom or the bed. He could have the woman, too. I was done with all of it. In the days that followed, with Chloe by his side every night, Ryan quickly regained his energy. He started having his friends over to play video games. "Ryan, Chloe's definitely got a thing for you," I overheard one of them say. "That year you were in a coma, she was flying to London constantly. She even prayed that if you woke up, she'd do anything for you." I happened to be walking by and heard it, and it felt like a knife twisting in my gut. With Chloe out of the house, Ryan dropped his act. "Ethan," he called out in a cold voice, "this coffee tastes like dishwater. It's disgusting to even look at." I impassively reached for the cup to take it away, but one of his friends grabbed my wrist. "What's with the attitude?" he sneered, after getting a nod from Ryan. "You're just his glorified butler. You should be on your knees begging for forgiveness for offending him." Before I could react, he grabbed me by the collar and threw the hot coffee in my face. The standoff was broken by a sharp voice from the doorway. "Stop it!" Chloe had just walked in. She rushed over, her face livid, and pulled me behind her. "Who gave you permission to touch him?" The moment she finished shouting, Ryan seamlessly switched to playing the victim. He clutched his stomach. "Chloe, no, don't blame my friend. He was just defending me. Ethan, he put dairy in my coffee on purpose. My stomach is killing me." Chloe froze. Her gaze shifted to me, all warmth gone. "Dairy? Ethan, I specifically told you Ryan is lactose intolerant." It was laughable. All it took was a single lie from Ryan for her to go from protecting me to condemning me. Coffee dripped from my hair. "I didn't," I said. "He's faking it." But my words were lost amidst Ryan's masterful performance and his friends' corroborations. Furious, Chloe slammed a coffee cup on the table, shattering it, then helped Ryan up. "Ethan," she snapped, "you will stay in this house and think about what you've done." But Ryan wasn't satisfied. "I'm not going to the hospital," he said, his voice petulant. "No one has ever treated me like this. I can't take it. Chloe, just let me die from the pain." He threw a tantrum like a spoiled child until Chloe finally hardened her heart. "Take Mr. Miller to the dark room in the back," she ordered the bodyguards. The dark room was a punishment reserved for Vanderbilt family security who committed serious infractions. It was a tiny, completely sealed room where they would release insects. I struggled against the guard's grip. "No, don't take me there." But no matter how much I yelled, the woman helping Ryan away never once looked back. For 24 hours, I huddled in a corner of that dark room, enduring the fiery bites on my skin. The sensation of countless insects crawling over me nearly drove me insane. But no matter how much I suffered, the guards Chloe had posted outside the door ignored my cries. Just before I lost consciousness, I could feel the vast swaths of red welts covering my body, so numb I could no longer feel the pain. A single tear escaped and traced a path down my temple. I closed my eyes and let despair extinguish the last embers of my love for her. "Ethan, don't sleep. Please wake up." The familiar voice pulled me back to consciousness. I snapped my eyes open to the crystal chandelier of the guest room. Chloe was sitting by my bed, and she let out a sigh of relief when she saw I was awake. "I know you're angry, Ethan," she said, her voice softening, "but what you did was wrong. You should never have tried to hurt Ryan." Waking up to her accusations, I could only manage a cold laugh. "You just believe him, like that?" Chloe frowned, her patience wearing thin. "Enough. I've already hired a priest to conduct a service by the ocean for your mother's ashes. You need to stop making trouble. Ryan's condition is the real problem right now. He's always been sensitive, and you've frightened him so badly that the doctors can't find what's wrong, and he can't sleep. The spiritualist I hired said that the only cure is for the person who harmed him to handcraft a protective bracelet from thorny branches." I was stunned. She had been waiting for me to wake up, not out of concern for me, but for Ryan. My voice was a hoarse, trembling whisper. "Chloe, can't you see the state I'm in?" I held up my arm, covered in red welts and deep, gruesome scratches. There wasn't a single patch of unbroken skin. Chloe was silent for a moment before her expression hardened. Ryan hasn't slept in over a day. The bracelet needs to be finished tonight. And if I say no? My eyes burned, but they were dry. Are you going to lock me in that room again? Let the insects finish me off this time. She couldn't meet my gaze. She closed her eyes. Ethan, just endure it for a little longer. Once Ryan is fully recovered, once I've repaid my debt to him for saving my life, things will go back to how they were. It was meant to be a promise. She placed several thick, thorny branches on the nightstand, her voice once again cool and detached. Remember, if you don't do it, the guards will do it for you. They say the bracelet only works if it's stained with the blood of the person who makes it. The door slammed shut, and the bodyguards moved to either side of my bed. Don't waste time, one of them said. The missus said you are to pull out every thorn with your bare hands, and then sand each bead yourself. That night, the guards pulled me from the bed and forced me to work without a moment's rest. My fingers were a mess of puncture wounds and raw, bleeding cracks from the sandpaper. Every movement was agony. At dawn, I heard Ryan's satisfied laugh from the other room. Chloe, this bracelet is amazing. My head stopped spinning the moment I put it on. That's wonderful, Chloe replied softly. Now get some sleep. I'll stay with you. I shrank into the corner, clutching my mangled hands, watching my blood drip onto the floor. The pain in my eyes was so intense I almost laughed. I remember once getting pricked by a rose thorn, and a single drop of blood made Chloe feel guilty for the rest of the day. Now, she could take a bracelet literally stained with my blood and use it to comfort another man. And she thought we could go back to how things were? Impossible. Whatever love I had for her was gone. The next day, Ryan was in such a good mood that he took Chloe out for the day. I only knew where they went because he posted it on his Instagram. It was a photo of them in Santorini, her hand in his, against the iconic white walls. The caption read, 10 years of loving you, and my dream finally came true. I stared at the picture, feeling nothing but a hollow emptiness, like the wind was blowing right through me. Surprisingly, there was no pain. I quietly slipped the wedding ring from my finger. Then I went to the garden and ripped out every single plant she had planted for me, cutting them to pieces and throwing them in the trash. After that, I opened my laptop and logged into the Twitter account that was being bombarded with hate. I scheduled a post for 1 month from today. By the time you read this, I will likely be gone, I began. I spent a long time writing my suicide note. Just as I typed the final period, I heard a car pull into the driveway. Chloe rushed in, heels clicking on the floor. Why did you destroy the garden? Ethan, I thought you loved those plants. I planted every one of them for you myself. For some reason, she looked pale, and I could see a small, dark stain spreading on her sleeve. I gave her a calm look, asking no questions, and snapped the laptop shut. The roots were rotten, I said. We should plant something else from now on. The mention of from now on seemed to ease her anxiety. All right, she said. I'll plant new ones for you. The night Chloe returned, there was a charity gala we were expected to attend. That evening, the Rolls-Royce stopped at a high-end boutique before heading to the event. Chloe got out to meet Ryan, who was standing on the curb in an incredibly expensive custom suit, refusing to move. She opened the back door, looking troubled. Ethan, you see? Before she could finish, I got out of the car without a word and moved to the front passenger seat. The gala was held at a sprawling estate on Long Island. In the main ballroom, light from the crystal chandeliers danced across the floor. When Ryan walked in holding Chloe's hand, they instantly became the center of attention. A crowd of other trust fund kids immediately flocked to them. Ryan, Chloe treats you so well. You're the first person in the world to wear that suit. I heard she was in Paris last week. To get that suit from some French billionaire, she challenged him to a street race and hurt her arm doing it. So that's how she got the stain on her sleeve. She'd been injured getting a suit for him. Don't even talk about it, Ryan said with a sigh. I felt terrible. She was bleeding so much. All I did was mention I liked it, and that's not just liking you, man, someone chimed in. She's willing to die for you. The fawning continued, and one of them shot a contemptuous look in my direction. Some people think wearing a 5-year-old, off-the-rack suit makes them one of us. They're not even fit to shine Ryan's shoes. I looked down at my own black suit, the one Chloe had arranged for me. I clenched my fists, fighting to keep my composure. Later in the evening, the charity auction began. The items were mostly trinkets that Ryan wouldn't look at twice, but to boost his image, Chloe bid extravagantly on every lot. The one item he did want, a men's ring, came up for auction, but another bidder immediately placed a final, unbeatable offer. But Ryan had decided he wanted it. He frowned at Chloe. Chloe, I really love that ring. If I can't have it, I won't be able to eat a thing tonight. That was all it took. After the auction, Chloe went to find the buyer. Ms. Sinclair, name your price, Chloe said. 10 times, 100 times the value, I don't care. The other woman laughed. Ms. Vanderbilt, you know my rules. I've been suffering from a lack of inspiration lately, and I happen to be looking for a new male model. So how about this? I overheard their conversation by chance on my way to the restroom. Your husband has a certain look I find appealing, Ms. Sinclair was saying. If you let me use him as a model for one of my shoots, I'll give you the ring for what I paid. Chloe's expression darkened. Let me think about it. My blood ran cold. What was there to think about? Ms. Sinclair was notorious in their circle. She was a photographer with a very specific, cruel taste, capturing images of her models in states of extreme suffering. I clenched my fists and walked away. A few minutes later, in a quiet corner of the ballroom, Chloe grabbed my arm. Ethan, I need to talk to you about something. She handed me a glass of juice she'd mixed herself, her tone placating. You've seen how much better Ryan is doing. He'll be well enough to move out soon. It's just, he really fell in love with that ring today. The buyer said she'll give it to us, but only if you agree to model for one of her photo shoots. So, absolutely not. I shoved her away. Chloe, what do you take me for? A wave of bitterness washed over me. I tried to swallow my anger, downing the juice in one gulp to calm myself. As I walked out of the ballroom, a wave of dizziness hit me, and I felt myself falling backward, unable to control my own body. The juice had been drugged. As my consciousness faded, I felt Chloe's bodyguards catch me. I could hear her whispering, her voice thick with a guilt she tried to suppress. I'm sorry, Ethan. This is the last time, I promise. A spotlight clicked on, blinding me. I blinked, my eyes adjusting to see I was in a blacked-out room, completely naked. Several large men stood around me. A chill ran through me, but I was too weak to move. Mr. Miller, just bear with it, came a woman's voice from behind a camera, laced with cruel amusement. We just need to get a few shots of you looking wounded and broken. That's all. I heard her chuckle. All right, you can start. The men began to beat me, their fists and feet landing heavy blows. Then one of them took out a small knife and began to slice at my skin, over and over. Blood welled up instantly. You're insane, I screamed through the pain. I'll call the police. This is illegal. Oh, Ms. Sinclair sneered. And who will you report? Me or your wife? This is my estate, Ethan. You're just making a small sacrifice for art. Besides, I promised Chloe I wouldn't do anything more than take a few pictures. Unless, of course, you'd like me to. I was completely helpless, like an animal at a slaughterhouse. I could feel my own warm blood running over my skin, staining the white cloth beneath me. Then, I felt the sharp point of a stiletto pressing into my forehead as the camera's flash went off again and again. I curled into a ball, overwhelmed by pain and humiliation. I don't know how much time passed before the camera finally stopped flashing. I don't even remember getting dressed, only that the blood from my wounds soaked through my white shirt, and that every step I took felt heavy with shame. Mr. Miller, Miss Sinclair called after me, her voice dripping with amusement. I've photographed thousands of men, but you're the very first to be served up by his own wife. My knuckles were white on the doorknob. I knew I couldn't fight her now. She's not my wife anymore, I said, my voice flat and final. The door closed behind me. I began to shake uncontrollably, wrapping my arms around myself as if to ward off a deep, internal chill. The party downstairs was winding down. As I walked numbly through the main hall, a loud boom echoed from outside. The next second, the sky above the estate exploded with fireworks, the glittering sparks spelling out a message, "Happy birthday, Ryan." It was a surprise from Chloe. It was just after midnight, the start of Ryan's birthday. In the garden nearby, Chloe stood with Ryan, her eyes full of adoration. "Happy birthday, Ryan," she said softly. "The suit, the ring, anything you want, I'll find a way to get it for you." She opened a small box, revealing the ring she had just bought with my body and my dignity. The crowd around them started chanting, "Kiss her, kiss her." Before Chloe could react, Ryan leaned in and kissed her. A wave of revulsion washed over me. I doubled over and threw up, retching until tears streamed down my face, until all I felt was pure, unadulterated disgust. By the time I stood up, a light rain had begun to fall. In the distance, Chloe was leading Ryan by the hand to the car. A moment later, the Rolls-Royce's headlights cut through the rain as it pulled away from the estate. 2 iMessages appeared on my phone. The first, "Ethan, something came up. I'm taking Ryan home, but I've sent a car for you." The second, "I know you're hurting. Just get through this last month. I'll make it up to you." I calmly deleted both messages and, without waiting for the car, began to limp home alone in the rain. It was the early hours of the morning when I finally got home. A birthday cake with its candles blown out sat on the living room table. Chloe was on the sofa with Ryan, watching him open gifts. When she saw me, soaked to the bone, my shirt stained with blood, she froze. "Ethan, I sent a car for you, didn't I?" She was too guilty to mention my injuries. Instead, she quickly stood and grabbed a towel, intending to dry my hair. I stared at her, my expression like ice, and without a moment's hesitation, I slapped her across the face. But just as my hand made contact, Ryan threw himself in front of her. The sharp crack echoed in the room as my palm connected with his cheek. "Ah!" he cried out, clutching his face, where a red handprint was already beginning to form. "Ryan, are you okay?" Chloe rushed to his side, her fingers trembling as she touched his swelling cheek. The sight of the red mark sent her into a rage. She grabbed the towel and whipped it at me. "Ethan, have you lost your mind?" The wet towel snapped against my forehead, right on the bruise from earlier, and the pain almost made me collapse. "Chloe, I was so wrong about you," I murmured, my voice dripping with scorn. "To give me away to a monster for a stupid ring. You're disgusting." For a second, Chloe looked stunned, a flicker of remorse in her eyes. But then Ryan stepped in front of her, arms outstretched. "Chloe, don't say that. Ethan, if you're angry, take it out on me." What a performance. Her moment of pity vanished. She took Ryan's hand comfortingly. "It's okay. I'll handle this." Her cold eyes found mine. "Those humiliating photos of you will probably be auctioned in 6 months. When they are, I will buy them back, no matter if they cost $1 billion. But Ethan, you had no right to hit Ryan. 6 months? I'd be long gone by then." I gave a dismissive shrug. As I turned to go upstairs, Chloe's voice, sharp as a whip, stopped me. "If you don't want to be arrested for assault tonight, you will go outside and kneel in the yard. Now." Around midnight, the rain began to fall harder. Private doctor arrived at the house. Under the watchful eyes of the bodyguards, I knelt motionless in the downpour. 2 hours later, I saw 2 figures appear on the master bedroom balcony, looking down at me. "Chloe, poor Ethan looks so pathetic," Ryan said, his voice dripping with mock pity. "Since my face is bruised, I'll have to postpone my birthday party for a few days. Why don't we invite him to come? He probably hasn't seen the yacht you bought me yet." Chloe's face was in the shadows. "Fine, you can arrange it. Ryan, I'm so sorry. I should have protected you." Their sickeningly sweet conversation was the final straw. The Chloe who once cared for me was well and truly dead. I clenched my fists. The yacht? Perfect. That would be the place for my final act. Kneeling in the rain all night left my knees black and blue. Days later, my body still ached from all the injuries, but I limped my way to City Hall and picked up the finalized divorce certificates. When I got home, a car was waiting. "Sir," the bodyguard said, "it's time for Mr. Sterling's birthday party. Mrs. Vanderbilt has requested your presence." I placed one of the divorce certificates on the nightstand in the master bedroom. Then I put on the wedding ring I hadn't worn in ages and let the bodyguard escort me to the party. On the deck of the luxurious yacht, a mountain of gifts was piled high, and a champagne tower sparkled under the lights. "Chloe, you're acting like such a wife," someone teased. "Every time the bottle lands on Ryan, you won't even let him take a drink." A group of their rich friends were playing spin the bottle at a long table. Just as I arrived, the bottle spun and, of course, landed on me. Someone snickered. "Well, what a coincidence. The bottle points, you get the punishment." I could feel the malice in the air. "I'm not playing," I said, backing away. But before I could take 2 steps, the young man who had spoken stood up and slapped me hard across the face. The group erupted in laughter. "He deserved that. That's for hitting Ryan." Ryan just smiled innocently. "Don't take it personally, Ethan. It's just a game." And Chloe, sitting next to him, watched it all with cold indifference. She reached out, spun the bottle again, and said one word, "Continue." In that moment, I understood why she had brought me here. Kneeling in the rain wasn't enough to atone for slapping Ryan. She wanted me to pay him back, tenfold, in front of everyone. And so, again and again, the bottle spun and landed on me. 10 times. After the final, stinging slap, the bodyguard let me go. My ears were ringing. I slowly raised a hand to my face, feeling the swollen, tender skin. "Chloe," Ryan said, "you promised you'd bake me a cake yourself tonight." Chloe gave a small smile and stood. "Wait here. I'm going to the galley." Before she left, she gave me a long, hard look, but said nothing. As soon as she was gone, Ryan dropped his gentle facade. "So, Ethan, how does it feel to be put in your place?" I ignored his taunt, gave him a dismissive smile, and walked away. I knew he would follow me, unable to resist gloating. And sure enough, as I reached the top deck, I heard his footsteps behind me. "Ryan, do you really think you've won?" I said, stopping by the railing with a smile. "Did you know? Chloe told me that as soon as you're better and her debt is repaid, she's kicking you out." "Shut your mouth," he snarled, clearly not used to being challenged. "A pathetic attendant like you isn't even worthy of being my rival." He advanced on me. I suddenly spun around and grabbed the lapels of his expensive suit. "Was it like this with my mother? She just brushed against your suit, and you—" The rest of my words were lost in a choked sob. My pain only seemed to fuel his cruelty. "That's right," he sneered. "She touched my suit and wouldn't kneel to apologize. And since she was your mother, I decided she needed to be taught a lesson. You should have seen her, with both her arms broken and a gag in her mouth so she couldn't scream. Her blood stained this very deck before it dripped into the ocean. I was going to break her leg too, but she struggled so much she fell overboard. Saved me the trouble of finishing her off." His arrogant confession filled my eyes with fire. "You bastard," I snarled. Ryan just laughed. "So what? Chloe believes me. She even defended me in court." My grip on his collar tightened. "But don't you forget, I'm her husband. She'll never divorce me. As long as I'm alive, I will always be her husband." My words were the spark that lit his fuse. In an instant, his hands were around my throat, squeezing tighter and tighter. My face flushed, and I choked out, "Let go. You're going to kill me? I'm telling you, as long as I'm alive, you'll never." Before I could finish, he slammed me against the railing with so much force my back went numb. The wedding ring slipped from my finger. As I struggled, I lost my balance, my body tipping over the railing, and I plunged 3 stories into the dark water below. The sounds of the party on the deck below drowned out the splash of my entry. As the icy water filled my lungs, I felt a strange sense of warmth. This was where my mother had been. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't be afraid. As I closed my eyes, a tiny red light blinked on the second button of my suit jacket, where I had hidden a camera. The truth, now submerged in the dark water, would soon be brought into the light. Ryan stared down at the dark water. Once he was sure I wasn't going to surface, he turned away, a cruel smile twisting his lips. "Goodbye, Ethan. You got what you deserved." Back on the main deck, Chloe returned with a small cake, lighting the candles as Ryan approached. "Try it. It's dairy-free. The raspberries were flown in from France this morning, and it's low sugar, just like you wanted." Ryan smiled, blew out the candles, and looked at her expectantly. "Feed me." "Whoa, get a room you too," someone from the table catcalled. Another person joked, "Chloe, when are you finally going to divorce that attendant? You should have married Ryan ages ago. You already gave him the ring, after all." Chloe's expression suddenly darkened. She scanned the crowd, a flicker of panic in her eyes as she searched for me and found nothing. A knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach. But then Ryan took her hand, and she obediently scooped up a bite of cake and fed it to him, quickly pulling her hand back. "All right, stop it. I'm a married woman, and Ryan is single. This doesn't look good." The mood instantly soured. Ryan's smile froze on his face, his hand clenching into a fist. When the yacht docked and the guests began to leave, Chloe stayed behind, dialing my number over and over, only to be met with the message that my phone was off. She hurried over to Ryan, who was saying goodbye to his friends. "Ryan, have you seen Ethan?" "I haven't seen him since I came back with the cake. We were still out on the water. I'm worried." Ryan cut her off, feigning hurt. "Ethan? He was angry about the game. As soon as you left, he cornered me and tore my collar. I managed to get away and he just left. Someone used the Zodiac tonight. He probably took it and left on his own." Chloe saw the faint red marks on his neck, and her worry was replaced by anger. "He never learns. Even after everything, he's still bullying you. Fine. If he wants to turn off his phone and have a tantrum, let him." Ryan took her hand. "Don't be angry. Come have a drink with me." That night, they went from the marina to a bar. Chloe, still angry, had a few cocktails, but soon she felt strangely hot and dizzy. "Chloe, you're drunk," Ryan said, holding her steady. "Let me take you upstairs to rest." He was practically carrying her. As soon as the hotel room door opened, she felt a cool sensation on her neck. In her daze, her body went limp and she clung to him. The feeling of a light kiss just before dawn woke Chloe. She instinctively hugged the person beside her, her fingers tracing his, her voice a low, affectionate murmur. "Ethan, stop it." But the word had barely left her lips before she froze. My hands had a thin layer of calluses from my years as an attendant, calluses that never fully went away, even with the custom hand creams she had developed for me. On countless nights, she had traced them with her own fingers, her touch full of tenderness. but the skin beneath her fingers now was smooth, too smooth. Her mind reeled and she shot upright in bed. The room was a disaster, clothes strewn everywhere. And lying next to her, completely naked, was Ryan, smiling at her. Chloe. Her face was ashen as she clutched the sheets to her chest. What happened? What do you think happened? Ryan laughed, his voice full of smug satisfaction. The moment we got in the room, you pushed me against the door, kissing me. You were all over me. You drugged me, she stated, though it was a question. She already knew the answer. It wasn't the first time he'd tried something like this. He'd done it once before after college, when he'd tried to win her over. She'd had to break a glass and cut her own arm to stay conscious long enough to get to a hospital and have her stomach pumped. Back then, she had felt nothing but disgust for him. If it hadn't been for the accident in London, if he hadn't ended up in a coma saving her life, she never would have given him the time of day. She owed him her life, but that didn't mean she loved him. You know, I never wanted this, she said, getting out of bed, her voice hard. I never wanted to betray Ethan. Don't ever use these disgusting tactics on me again. Ryan's composure finally broke. He grabbed her from behind, wrapping his arms around her waist. Why, Chloe? I love you. I have your name tattooed over my heart. I've tried to kill myself over you. I let a piece of rebar pierce my chest to save you. Look at the scar. I've never regretted any of it. Last night was my first time, Chloe, and I gave it to you. You can't just throw me away. His tears burned her skin, and she finally gave in. This can never happen again. That's my final word. Now go back to sleep. I'll stay with you for a few more days. Once Ryan was asleep, Chloe went out to the balcony for a cigarette. She tried my number again, but it was still off. The guilt was overwhelming. She typed out an iMessage. Ethan, I am so sorry. Please call me when you get this. I know I've been a monster lately, but you are the only one I have ever loved. In 3 days, let's go to Finland to see the Aurora Borealis. You've always wanted to go. I'll fix everything, and we can go back to how we were. She sent the message, then called her assistant to book the flights. And that landscape painting at the upcoming Sotheby's auction, she added, make sure we get it, no matter the cost. Ethan loves those paintings. I need to make things right. But for the next 3 days, I never called. Chloe spent the time absent-mindedly with Ryan, playing video games, renting out entire golf courses for his amusement. 3 days later, at the end of their dinner at a revolving restaurant atop a skyscraper, she handed him a medical report. Ryan, the doctor says you've made a full recovery. I have a husband, a man I love. I can't stay with you forever. You'll find someone else, someone who truly loves you. Before a stunned Ryan could even react, Chloe stood up and walked out. She sped home, the painting and 2 plane tickets on the passenger seat beside her. She rehearsed her apology, willing to do anything, even get on her knees and beg. The car pulled up to the house. The lights were on, but I was nowhere to be seen. Chloe ran upstairs, checking the guest room first, then the master bedroom. When she opened the door, the air was thick with the scent of Ryan's essential oils, completely overpowering the lime scent I preferred. She flipped on the light, and as she turned, a flash of red on the nightstand caught her eye. Her breath caught in her throat. She rushed over, the gift box falling from her hand and hitting the floor. It was a divorce certificate. Impossible, she choked out, fumbling for her phone to call her assistant. That's not legally binding. The signature must be a forgery. I never signed. She stopped mid-sentence. The memory hit her like a physical blow. The morning of the trial, me kneeling before her, holding the papers. If you go through with defending him today, I'm signing these, and we're getting a divorce. She had been in a rush. I threatened it so many times before. She hadn't even looked at the papers, just scribbled her name and tossed them at me. Is that what you want? Fine. Now stop making a scene, Ethan. It had been real. I had meant it. Chloe closed her eyes, a sharp pain pulsing in her temples. I had left the certificate and vanished. Find him, she screamed into the phone. Check every flight, every train, every bus manifest. I want to know when he left and where he went. Find every trace of him. Chloe didn't sleep that night. Her usually perfect face was drawn and pale. The next morning, she heard the front door open and rushed downstairs. Ethan, is that you? But it was Ryan's voice that answered. It's me, Chloe. I made you some oatmeal. Get out, Chloe said, her voice like ice, her back to him, and take every single thing of yours out of my bedroom. Don't leave anything behind, and don't ever come back. Why? Ryan demanded, agitated. I heard he divorced you. He's gone, Chloe. Why are you? Shut up, she snapped, rubbing her temples. Just get out of my life. For the next week, Chloe used every connection she had, sparing no expense to find me, but it was no use. It was as if I had vanished into thin air. Then, on the 10th day of my disappearance, a massive storm hit New York City. At 10 a.m., a scheduled post went live on a popular online forum. It hit the internet with the force of a hurricane. At that moment, Chloe was standing in front of her mirror, holding a small grooming razor. A message from her assistant popped up. "Ms. Vanderbilt, please try to remain calm." She opened the link with one hand. Her pupils contracted. The razor slipped, slicing a deep gash above her eye. Blood dripped onto the phone screen. The post began, "By the time you read this, I will likely be gone. My only regret is that I was unable to get justice for my mother in this life. My name is Ethan Miller. I was the man who tried to sue the Sterling family heir, Ryan Sterling. 6 months ago, my mother was murdered, her limbs broken before she was thrown into the ocean, all because she accidentally brushed against his suit. In the note, I detailed my entire struggle, the search for evidence, the sham of a trial, every heartbreaking word a testament to my despair. At the end of the post was a link to a cloud server. The camera was hidden in my jacket button. If I managed to turn it on, the footage should be the final piece of evidence. Please, help me get the justice my mother deserved. Chloe, you once loved me. You once risked everything to marry me. But now I am dead. How much of that will you even remember? At our wedding, you said, 'Ethan, you are my earth, and I am your sky. Separately, we are just elements, but together we make a whole world. Now that I am gone, Chloe, what will be left of your world?' Chloe could no longer stand. Her eyes were bloodshot, tears mixing with the blood from the cut on her brow, blurring her vision. She collapsed to the floor, her trembling finger tapping the link. The shaky video began to play. Ryan's arrogant face filled the screen. You should have seen her, with both her arms broken and a gag in her mouth. And Chloe believes me. She even defended me in court. The video continued, showing Ryan grabbing my throat and shoving me over the railing. The camera feed tumbled downwards. No, Ethan, no. Chloe screamed at the phone, as if I could hear her. But the video ended with a splash, and then only darkness. Chloe completely broke down. She curled into a ball on the floor, a bone-deep chill spreading through her as the shock set in. How could she have done this? How could she have pushed her own husband to his death? Was he really gone? Suddenly, a desperate hope seized her. He couldn't be dead. Ryan was the key to everything. She scrambled to her feet and stumbled downstairs, rushing to her car and speeding toward the hospital. Ryan was there. He had staged a suicide attempt the day before, calling her and refusing treatment unless she came. She had ignored him then. Now she needed answers. The torrential rain hammered against the car, each drop a blow against Chloe's frayed nerves. She parked at the hospital and ran, soaked, to his private suite. As her cold fingers touched the doorknob, she heard the sound of something shattering inside. You useless idiots! What do I pay you for? Ryan was screaming. Get that post taken down. Delete all the comments. Shut down the whole damn site if you have to. Mr. Sterling, please calm down, his lawyer said. This is moving too fast to contain. Luckily, the storm and your episode yesterday give us some room to spin this. But if you don't want the police taking you into custody today, you need to tell me exactly what happened. Ryan impatiently ripped the bandages from his wrist. Suicide? It was fake, you idiot. The truth is, Ethan touched my suit, so I taught him a lesson. He fell overboard. I didn't push him. And Mr. Miller? The lawyer pressed, frowning. You shoved him into the ocean. He's dead, isn't he? Ryan sneered. I watched him go under. He never came back up. The bastard. I can't believe he had a backup plan. Just then, the door to the room was kicked open. Chloe stood there, her eyes blazing with a cold fire. Ryan froze. Chloe, it's not what it looks like. Ethan framed me. The video. The next second, Chloe lunged at him, her hands closing around his throat. Say it again, Ryan. Where is he? What did you do with him? Ryan choked, clawing at her hands. The lawyer and bodyguards rushed to pull her off. Ms. Vanderbilt, you know the law. You have to let him go or you'll be charged. They finally managed to restrain her. Ryan, his face purple, collapsed into a fit of coughing, tears streaming down his cheeks. Chloe, for that bastard Ethan, he didn't do anything. Chloe's face was a deathly gray. Ryan gave a desperate, broken laugh. Fine. You want the truth? I'll give it to you. He struggled for a minute after he hit the water, then a wave took him under and he was gone. There's probably nothing left of him to find. In that moment, something inside Chloe snapped. A coppery taste filled her mouth, and she coughed up a spray of blood before collapsing backward. As she lost consciousness, she whispered, her voice full of bitter irony, You deserve this, Chloe. You destroyed the man you loved for a piece of trash. I'm sorry, Ethan. I'm coming to join you. A month later, in a villa in the suburbs of New York, a private nurse was administering N4. My skin was pale, and the bruises from the needle stood out starkly. As the needle went in, my finger twitched. The nurse ran out of the room, excited. Ms. Quinn, he moved. His finger moved. The woman who had been making coffee paused and hurried into the bedroom. I had just opened my eyes. My vision was blurry, as if I were looking through a thick fog, but I could make out a slender figure approaching the bed. I tried to speak, my voice a dry rasp. Who are you? Where am I? I only remembered the confrontation with Ryan, turning on the camera. I hadn't expected him to actually try to kill me. My plan had been to fall and make it look like he pushed me. The lack of oxygen, the searing cold of the water. The last thing I remember is thinking I was going to die. You didn't die, but you came very close, the woman replied, her voice calm and reassuring. Mr. Miller, how are you feeling? Are you in any pain? I blinked, trying to focus. I can't see very well. You can't see me at all? I shook my head. She was silent for a moment, then gave a small, wry laugh. Well, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Olivia Quinn. I own the company you hired for your extraction, so that's why she was here. I had done a lot of research to find her company. They were a discreet, bespoke service for the ultra-wealthy who could meet any request for the right price. That night, my team was hidden on the lower level of the yacht, she explained. They pulled you out of the water the moment you went in, but you had been deprived of oxygen before the fall. We saved you, but you've been in a coma ever since. How long was I out? Almost 2 months, Olivia said. We couldn't risk moving you out of the country in your condition, so you're still in New York. Because you're supposed to be dead, I had to bring you here to the suburbs. But don't worry, it's completely secure. Thank you, I whispered. Don't mention it, Olivia said. Your plan was a success, by the way. When you're feeling stronger, you can see the fallout online for yourself. For now, just rest and recover. The justice you wanted is coming. I lowered my gaze, my eyes stinging. I had risked everything, nearly died, for one last chance to take back my life. Since I had survived, I had to make sure I truly lived. As Olivia went downstairs, her assistant approached her. Ms. Quinn, Chloe Vanderbilt is still having the coastline searched for Mr. Miller's body. And the online chatter? Mr. Miller is our client. We should give this a push. Olivia glanced at the rain outside. Keep fanning the flames online. Don't let the story die. The Sterling family heir, a cold-blooded murderer. Some people truly are monsters. She picked up an umbrella. Have the doctor come by again for another checkup, and hire 2 more staff, ones who can cook nutritious meals. I settled into life at the villa. The private doctor came every day. The oxygen deprivation from the fall had damaged my optic nerves, and though I was receiving treatment, my vision was slow to improve. On another rainy day, I was using a cane to feel my way outside when my foot slipped on some moss. I cried out as I started to fall, but a pair of hands caught me. If you want to go for a walk, you can ask one of the staff to help you, Olivia said, steadying me. We were close, and through the blur, I could just make out her smiling eyes. I'm sorry, Miss Quinn. I didn't mean to cause trouble. It's no trouble at all, she laughed. Once you've recovered, I'll arrange your transport out of the country, as per our agreement, unless you've changed your mind and want to stay in New York. No, I said. It's a clean break. There's nothing left for me here. Over the past few days, I had pieced together what happened next. My post and the video had caused a firestorm online. Ryan was publicly branded a murderer, and the Sterling Corporation's stock plummeted. He was taken into police custody the day the video was released, but his lawyers managed to get him off by faking a psychiatric evaluation, and he was committed to a local psychiatric hospital instead of prison. Chloe was unconscious for 3 days after she collapsed. When she woke up and learned where Ryan was, she used her influence to have him transferred from the comfortable local hospital to a grim, state-run facility in a remote, desolate part of upstate New York. Ms. Vanderbilt, Mr. Sterling is on a double dose of his medication today, the doctor reported to Chloe. His treatment will be electroconvulsive therapy. Through the observation window, a nurse placed a cup of pills in front of Ryan. He glared out the window, his eyes full of hate. Chloe, do you really want me dead this badly? He swatted the pills to the floor. I'm not taking them, and no ECT. The door to his room opened, and Chloe strode in, kicking him hard in the shin. Ah, he cried, collapsing to the floor. How can you be so cruel? What did I do wrong? My only crime was loving you for all these years. When she didn't react, he grew afraid, grabbing her leg. Please, Chloe, let me go. I know I was wrong. Let me out of here. I'll do anything. Chloe slowly crouched down and grabbed his chin, her grip so tight he thought the bone would break. Is that possible? Not unless you can bring Ethan back. Her voice was vicious. You are a legally certified psychiatric patient. I'm just helping with your treatment, and this treatment won't end today or tomorrow. I want you to suffer for what you did every single day. She released him, shoving him to the floor. Fine, you just wait, Chloe. The Sterlings will find me, and they won't let you get away with this. Chloe gave a cold laugh. The Sterling family is too busy with damage control to worry about you. And even if they do find you, I'll just make sure you end up in a real prison. Nurses rushed in, pinned Ryan down, and forced the pills into his mouth. The agony of the electroshock therapy, a procedure normally done under full anesthesia, coursed through his conscious body. Chloe listened to his screams, her face a blank mask, until her phone vibrated. Ms. Vanderbilt, we found a ring, wedged between the deck boards on the yacht. Chloe's face went white, her voice trembling. Don't move. I'm on my way. 3 days later, I sat in the back of a Maybach, my cane in my hand. It was the first time I had left the villa. Ms. Quinn, I can go alone, I said, feeling a little anxious. It was my mother's birthday. I would be leaving New York soon, and I wanted to see the ocean one last time. All right, I'll take you, Olivia said, starting the car. My vision had been improving over the last few days. The fog was lifting, and I could get around mostly on my own. The doctor said the nerve damage was healing, which meant it was almost time for me to leave. On the way to the marina, I had her stop so I could buy a potted monstera. I've always loved them. My mother and I had a small yard full of them when I was a child. Later, Chloe had imported rare varieties from all over the world to fill a garden for me. All of that was in the past now. Ms. Quinn, I'd like to go the rest of the way alone. I just want to see it from a distance. I put on a hat and a face mask before getting out. I'll wait for you here, Olivia said. If anything happens, just hit the power button on your phone 5 times. It's programmed to call me. I gripped my cane and walked away, my back disappearing from her view. What I didn't see was the familiar yacht docking at a nearby slip. I stood at the water's edge, looking out at the blue expanse, and placed the plant down by the railing. Happy birthday, Mom. It's your first birthday since we were separated. There's no headstone, so this is the best I can do. I got justice for you my own way. No matter what happens now, I have no regrets. I smiled. They say all the oceans are connected. By this time next year, I'll be with you on a different shore. I took one last, long look at the ocean before turning to leave, but that one glance sent a chill down my spine. A figure was disembarking from the yacht. It was Chloe. I turned and walked away, my heart pounding. Chloe paused on the gangplank, her head snapping up just in time to see me turn away. Ethan, she screamed, running after me. Ethan, is that you? My cane clattered to the ground as I broke into a run, my still recovering vision swimming, and scrambled into the back of the Maybach. Drive, go now. Olivia didn't hesitate. The car sped away from the marina, not slowing until we were a safe distance away. What happened? She asked, her brow furrowed with concern as she looked at my pale face. Are you all right? We have to leave New York. Now, I said, grabbing her wrist, my hand ice cold. Back at the marina, Chloe ran, but she was too late. All she saw was my figure disappearing into a luxury car as it sped away. She stood there in the wind, her eyes red, frantically scanning the area. It looked so much like him. That back, it had to be Ethan. She searched the pier until she found it, the potted monstera. No one leaves a plant as a memorial. Her eyes welled with tears as she picked it up. In her other hand, she clutched a simple, plain wedding band. My wedding ring. Since they'd found it on the deck 3 days ago, she hadn't slept, spending every waking hour supervising the search for my body. He wasn't dead. She knew she hadn't been mistaken. She immediately called her assistant. Pull all the security footage from the marina and the surrounding area. I don't want a single frame missed. I want the results on my desk tonight. 6 months later, a small restaurant on the Amalfi Coast in Italy. At the end of my shift, I took off my apron, put away the remaining ingredients, and locked up for the night. I walked home alone along the coast. The sun is warm here, the hills are covered in lemon groves, and the sea is much warmer than the Atlantic. I'd been here for 6 months, and I'd adjusted to the new life. My vision had fully recovered. I'd started as a cook, but a month ago, the owner decided to sell, and my coworker and I bought the place together. On my way home tonight, I got an iMessage from Olivia. Ethan, you need to be ready. Chloe has hired a team of international private investigators. It's likely they'll find you soon. I knew this day would come. Ever since that day at the marina, She had been convinced I was alive. I knew she would never stop looking. I was staring at my phone, lost in thought, and didn't see the light change. A convertible sped toward me, horn blaring. Just before it hit me, someone tackled me, pulling me out of the way. "Ethan, look out!" The familiar voice in my ear made me freeze. The force of the impact sent us both sprawling to the pavement as the car sped away. I was cushioned by the body beneath me, but I felt a few drops of something warm and wet on my temple. It was blood. Before I could process what had happened, the arms around me tightened, holding me so close I could barely breathe. "Ethan, it's really you," she sobbed, her tears hot against my skin. "Thank God, you're alive. You're alive." I didn't need to look to know it was Chloe. I was frozen for a moment, my heart hammering in my chest. I pushed down the panic and shoved her away. "Don't touch me," I said, my voice like ice. Caught off guard, she stumbled and fell. She had hit her head, saving me, and a trickle of blood ran from her forehead down her cheek. She looked a mess. "Ethan, it's me, she started, desperate to explain, but the words wouldn't come. I didn't even look at her. I just stood up and started to walk away. She scrambled after me, wrapping her arms around my waist from behind. "Please, don't do this to me, Ethan," she begged, her voice small and broken. "My life has been agony since you disappeared. I was wrong, so wrong. I couldn't see what was right in front of me. Please, forgive me. Just look at me, please." Her sobs finally broke through my anger, and I felt a strange sense of calm. There was no point in running. It was time to say what needed to be said. "You're the lawyer, Chloe. You know the law better than I do," I said, my voice cold. "Let go of me now, or I will call the police and have you arrested for harassment." Her arms fell away. I turned to face her, my expression as if I were looking at a stranger. "We're divorced. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. There's nothing left to say. Don't look for me again. Don't come near me again. We are over." With that, I turned and walked away without looking back. When I got home that night, my roommate, Anna, was at the window. "Ethan, who was that woman hassling you on the street?" She pulled me over. "Look, she followed you. She's just standing there. Oh my God, she's kneeling. She's kneeling on the sidewalk." I frowned and pulled the curtains shut. "Ignore her. It's just a pointless, crazy stunt." But I knew Chloe wouldn't give up that easily. She knelt on the pavement all night. When I left for work early the next morning, she was still there. On my walk to the restaurant, a red sports car crept along behind me. The window rolled down, and Chloe's voice pleaded, "Ethan, please, just give me a chance to make it right. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. Nothing I do can compare to the hell I put you through. I had Ryan committed. I never loved him, Ethan, I swear." Her words were a meaningless buzzing in my ears. I was so sick of it I stopped and turned to face her with a sneer. But before I could speak, there was a loud crash. A Rolls-Royce Phantom had accelerated and slammed into the back of her sports car, sending it spinning into a tree. The driver's side door of the Rolls-Royce opened, and Olivia Quinn stepped out, dressed in a chic gray suit. She strode over to the wrecked sports car and tossed a business card inside. "My apologies, miss. You were driving at a crawl and harassing someone. I found it distracting. My assistant will handle the repairs." I hurried over to her. "What are you doing here? Are you okay?" "I got a text from Anna last night," she said with a reassuring smile. "She said you might be in trouble, so I came as quickly as I could." A warmth spread through my chest, and I got into her car without a second thought. The easy familiarity between us was like a dagger in Chloe's heart. She scrambled out of her car and grabbed my wrist. "Ethan, who is she? You can't go with her. You're my husband." Olivia swatted her hand away, stepping between us. "Ms. Vanderbilt, can't you see you're harassing him?" A word of friendly advice. A good ex-wife should have the decency to act like she's dead. The words ex-wife hit Chloe like a slap. She stood there, defeated, as our car pulled away, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. It was quiet in the car. I leaned back against the seat, letting my emotions settle. For the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. Olivia's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "You went through so much," she said softly. "It's over now," I said with a small smile. "It won't happen again." She pulled over on the coastal highway. "There's something I need to tell you," she said. "Those photos you told me about? Someone back in the States is putting them up for auction. But don't worry, I'll buy them. I won't let them see the light of day." I paused, then gave a dismissive shrug. "Don't bother. Someone else will buy them." In the distance, the sun was beginning to rise, its golden light spreading across the water, warming the sea. As I watched the light spread, I felt as if the darkness of my past was finally, truly, beginning to fade. Sure enough, It wasn't long before Chloe got a call from her assistant back in New York. Ms. Vanderbilt, Miss Sinclair is holding an auction of her private collection. She sent an invitation. She mentioned a particularly rare lot of photos and video. Starting bid is $100 million, with 90% of the proceeds going to charity. Chloe's heart seized. I don't care what it costs. I'm buying it. Book me a flight home, now. Chloe flew back that night. The auction was being live-streamed, and when she arrived, exhausted and disheveled, the comments section was already a torrent of hate. What is she doing here? Talk about bad luck. That's the woman who defended a murderer and drove her own husband to suicide. I heard she sold her husband to that sick photographer just to buy a ring for Ryan Sterling. Who is she trying to fool? Acting all sad and heartbroken? She's disgusting. Chloe ignored it all. The only thing that mattered was getting those photos. Near the end of the auction, the mysterious lot was brought out. The bidding started at $50 million. Chloe bid immediately, but an anonymous online bidder instantly raised the price to $200 million. The room erupted in gasps. Ms. Vanderbilt, her assistant whispered, your liquid capital is capped at $500 million. You can't go any higher. But the price on the screen kept climbing, quickly approaching $600 million. Chloe gritted her teeth and placed a final, unbeatable bid, determined to win no matter the cost. When the gavel finally fell, Chloe was covered in a cold sweat, but she was relieved. She knew the anonymous bidder had to be me all the way in Italy driving up the price, but she didn't care. She would have paid her entire fortune to get those photos back. Chloe stayed in the States for a week. On the fourth day, Ms. Sinclair was arrested. The police found a trove of evidence of child abuse at her estate. She would be spending the rest of her life in prison. When Chloe emerged from the dark room at the Sinclair estate, her assistant saw the marks on her arms and asked, her eyes red, Ms. Vanderbilt, should I take you to a hospital? Chloe shook her head, her voice firm. No, book me the next flight to Italy, and I'll need some thorny branches and some sandpaper. She needed to show me she understood now. She needed to atone. 2 days later, I was taking some leftover cake out to feed the stray cats when I saw a familiar, wretched figure in the distance. It had only been a week, but Chloe had lost so much weight her dress seemed to swallow her. Her sleeves were rolled up, revealing angry red welts on her arms, identical to the ones the insects had left on me. Ethan, I brought the photos and the video back, she said, holding out a manila envelope, her hands shaking. I took it from her without a word. Chloe let out a breath she seemed to have been holding. She took a blood-stained bracelet from her purse. I locked myself in the dark room at my family's estate for 3 days. I know what it feels like now. I made this bracelet just like the one you made for Ryan. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I want you to have it. I gave the bracelet a cold look. No, thank you. You owed me the photos, so I'll take them. But if I wore that bracelet, I'd have nightmares for the rest of my life. The light went out of Chloe's eyes. She bit her lip and threw the bracelet into a nearby trash can. What else? She asked, her voice desperate. What else can I do? Just tell me. I started to turn away, but she grabbed my hand again, her eyes pleading. Is it the slaps? You can hit me back, as many times as you want. Please. She tried to raise my hand to her face. I pulled my hand away. Chloe, I said, my voice calm, we're even now. Don't come looking for me again. My words were a death sentence, shattering the last of her hope. She stumbled backward, tears streaming down her face. Why, Ethan? Why not? Is it someone else? Is it that woman, Olivia Quinn? This has nothing to do with anyone else, I said, my voice quiet but firm. Some things, once they're broken, they can't be fixed. Some feelings, once they're gone, they don't come back. There's no future for us, Chloe. It's impossible. That evening, when I locked up the restaurant and headed home, Chloe was gone. I thought she had finally given up. I never imagined she would resort to something so extreme. As I rounded a corner on the coastal road, a black car screeched to a halt beside me. The doors flew open, and several men jumped out, pressing a cloth soaked in chloroform over my mouth and nose. I struggled for a moment, then everything went black. When I woke up, I was blindfolded, my hands tied behind my back. My body ached, and I could feel the cold concrete floor beneath me. The only light was a thin sliver coming from under a door. Who's there? I rasped. Ethan? Is that you? A familiar, weak voice answered. It was Chloe. What was she doing here? A moment later, someone ripped the blindfolds from our eyes. We were in an abandoned warehouse. Chloe was lying next to me, also bound, with tear tracks on her cheeks. Ryan, you did this? Chloe cried out when she saw the man standing a few feet away. Let us go. Ryan walked toward us. He was wearing tattered clothes. His face was pale, and his eyes had a wild, manic look. Life in the state hospital had clearly not been kind to him. The medication had made his hair fall out in patches, and he was little more than a skeleton. "Chloe, so you finally decided to see me," Ryan sneered. "Did you really think you could get rid of me by locking me up in that hellhole? Don't forget, even a ruined Sterling still has connections." He crouched down in front of me, his eyes burning with hate. "And you, Ethan, you think you won? You destroyed my life. I'm not going to let you get away with it. Today, you're both going to die." Chloe struggled against her bonds. "Ryan, don't be insane. This is between you and me. Let Ethan go. Let him go." Ryan laughed, a high, unhinged sound. "Do you think I'd ever let him go? He's the reason you turned on me." He pulled a small knife from his pocket and traced the blade along my jawline. The cold steel made my muscles tense. "So, Ethan, which one of you do you think deserves to live?" "Ryan, don't hurt him," Chloe cried, tears streaming down her face. "I'll go with you. Do whatever you want to me. Just let Ethan go." Ryan looked at her, a flicker of mad hope in his eyes. "What if I said I want you to cripple yourself so you can never leave my side again? Would you do that?" Chloe hesitated for only a second before her voice came out, firm and clear. "Yes, I'll do it, as long as you let Ethan go." Ryan nodded to one of his men, who untied Chloe's hands. He handed her the knife. "Then prove it." Without a moment's hesitation, Chloe plunged the knife into her own palm. Blood welled up instantly. "Chloe!" I cried out, a sharp pain shooting through my own chest. But the sight seemed to drive Ryan over the edge. "Hold him down," he screamed at his men. "I said I'd let him live, but I never said I'd let him go. Cripple him. I want to make sure he can never take anything from me again." As the men advanced on me, Chloe ripped the knife from her hand and lunged at Ryan. "Don't you touch him." Ryan dodged, but the knife still sliced his shoulder. Just then, the warehouse doors burst open. "Boss, it's the cops," one of his men yelled. Ryan's face went white. He kicked Chloe hard. "You had your chance. This whole place is about to fill with poison gas. You can die together." He and his men fled, opening a canister in the corner as they went. I was still tied up, helpless, as a thick gas began to fill the room. Chloe struggled to crawl over to me. She pulled a dusty, old gas mask from a nearby crate and, with the last of her strength, managed to fit it over my face. "Chloe, you'll die." I shook my head, trying to pull the mask off, but she held my hands down. "But you'll live," she said, a sad smile on her face as tears streamed down her cheeks. "Ethan, I'm happy I could die for you." The gas grew thicker. Chloe's consciousness faded, and she collapsed to the floor. My own head was spinning, but I kept shaking her, trying to keep her awake. The sound of sirens outside was the last thing I heard before I passed out. I don't know how much time had passed when I woke up in a hospital room. Olivia was sitting by my bed. When she saw I was awake, she grabbed my hand. "Ethan, you're finally awake. It's over. You're safe now." "Chloe," I asked, my voice urgent. "What about Chloe?" "She's alive," Olivia said. "She inhaled a lot of the gas. There's some organ damage, and there will be permanent side effects, but she's not in any danger." She explained, "I was the one who called the police. When I couldn't reach you, I had my contacts track your location. Thank God they got there in time." I let out a breath of relief, but my feelings were a complicated mess. I never thought Chloe would be willing to die for me. I was in the hospital for a week. On the day I was discharged, Chloe had been moved to a long-term care facility. I went to see her once, bringing a bouquet of lysianthus, her old favorite. She was lying in bed, pale and weak, but her eyes lit up the moment I walked in. "You still need time to recover," I said. "Olivia is arranging for you to be transferred to a facility back in the States. Take care of yourself. Don't do anything foolish." Will I see you again?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper, her eyes full of hope. I was silent for a moment. "I'm going to be living abroad permanently," I said. "I don't plan on coming back." With that, I turned and walked out of the room without looking back. I knew it was cruel, but it was better to make a clean break. Our story should have ended a long time ago. Chloe watched me go, silent tears falling onto the blanket, leaving small, dark spots. 2 years later, Ryan Sterling's case finally went to trial. The investigation had uncovered a web of other crimes connected to his family, so the trial had been delayed. By then, the Sterling Corporation was bankrupt, and Ryan was sentenced to life in prison for a litany of charges, including assault and kidnapping. I flew back to New York for the sentencing. Watching the bailiffs lead a broken, desperate Ryan away, I felt nothing. My mother had finally gotten her justice. It was time to let the past go. After the hearing, I walked out of the courthouse to find Olivia waiting for me. She smiled and linked her arm through mine. I waited in line for 3 hours, but I finally got those cronets you like, she said. Now let's get to the airport before we miss our flight. Okay, I said, smiling as I took the box from her. I told you to wear gloves. It's freezing here, your hands are like ice. We walked down the courthouse steps together, the setting sun casting our long shadows before us. It was a perfect, peaceful moment. I didn't see the woman in the wheelchair on the street corner, watching me. Chloe was bundled in a thick coat, her face still pale. The gas poisoning had left her with severe, permanent health problems, and she now lived in a full-time care facility. This was the last time she would ever see me. Seeing me, happy, moving on with someone I loved, she felt no jealousy, only a quiet sense of peace. This is good, she whispered to herself, before turning her wheelchair and disappearing into the crowd. My life was once consumed by darkness and despair. But then I met Olivia. She was a light that illuminated my gray world. The scars of the past might never fully fade, but I knew my future would be filled with sunshine and warmth.